That's right.
Hello and welcome. This is San with another Python tutorial video for beginners. Today we are going to learn about Python's continue, break, and pass statements used for flow control. Now suppose we are modeling real-life activity of an avatar in a video game. We want to write a program that controls when the avatar goes to gym and when not. Basically, for any given day, avatar should skip gym if it is raining, but continue gym the following days. One day the avatar gets hurt at the gym, which prevents the avatar from going to the gym for the rest of the week. In other words, the avatar should break out of his gym habit, at least for the week. We are not yet worried about what exactly the avatar does away from the gym, so we want to create a placeholder in our code for that condition for now, so that we can come back later to develop that behavior. Another example is a car race game such as NASCAR, where each car needs to complete 10 laps. The car may need to refuel or to end the race if the car breaks down in the middle of the race due to mechanical problems. Assuming we are to model these scenarios using for loop or a while loop. Now you might be wondering how we can implement this logic. In other words, if I'm using a loop, how can I skip an iteration if some condition is satisfied and continue to next iteration? Or how can I end all iterations and break out of the loop prematurely? This is where continue, break, and pass statements are useful. In this tutorial, we will show two example implementations of continue, break, and pass statements. The first example will be the avatar scenario explained earlier using a for loop. The second example will be the NASCAR scenario mentioned earlier, and we will be using while loop in that example. But before that, please don't forget to smash that like button if you are enjoying this video. Also hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so that you don't miss future videos like this. So let's get right into it. First scenario we will be looking at is the avatar's scenario, avatar going to the gym, and we will implement continue, break, and pass statements in this scenario step by step. So first I want to start with defining a week, which is a list of days, Sunday through Saturday, and possibilities, whether true or false. I would need a loop, and in this case, like I said, we would be using a for loop first for the avatar scenario, and we would say rain equals choice of possibilities. So it's randomly choosing a value from this possibility list. Import choice function from random module, from random import choice, and I would get rid of that warning. Now we would say we would check if rain, then continue, and else we will be simulating that the avatar would go to gym. And for that simulation, for now, all we will be doing is printing a statement saying avatar went to the gym on this day, and that day value comes from what we define here. So let's give it a quick run. The avatar went to gym on Monday, skipped gym on Tuesday because of the continue statement. So what's happening here is going through all these days in the week. For each day, it's checking whether it's a rainy day or not. And if it is rainy day, it would just continue to the next iteration. So uh, let's say, for example, on Tuesday it was raining, and on Tuesday it would not print this statement because right here it continued to the next iteration. So the avatar then continued to gym on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Now I want to also mimic the behavior of a break statement or add a break statement to simulate that if the avatar got injured, then he would have to break out of his gym habit, at least for that rest of the week. So for that, I would have to define a new variable. Let's say I'm going to define here print, and then injury equals, then I would make a random choice using the same possibilities variable and say if injury, then I would have to break out of this for loop. But before that, I just want to print something on the console, and I would again use the f string avatar got injured on this day. So let's run it again. Avatar went to gym on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and also Wednesday. But it rained on Thursday, so it's continued to the next iteration, which is Friday, and Friday got injured. And once we got injured, it's we use the break statement to get out of the for loop. Just to show you what is happening after the break statement, I would add a print statement outside the for loop here. We would just say end of this week and print this out. After went to gym on Monday and got injured on Monday, he's not doing gym anymore. So Sunday it rained and went to gym on Monday. Monday he got injured, so he's not, with this break statement here, he's not going to gym on the rest of the week. So all these week would be skipped, and the for loop will break, and the break statement will basically exit out of the for loop and execute the next statement in the code block or the main program, which is the print statement end of the week. So this is what we get on the console. So this shows that break statement exits the loop immediately and unconditionally ends the loop's operation. The program begins to execute the next statement after the loop. I also want to note that if a break statement appears in a nested loop, only the inner loop will stop executing. The outer loop will continue to execute until all operations or iterations have occurred, or until the outer loop is broken using another break statement of its own. If you want to see example of using a break statement within a nested for loop, then please drop your comments and let me know. I can make a separate video on that. But for now, I would like to continue with addition of pass statement in this case. A pass statement is like a null operation. Nothing happens when it executes. In other words, the pass statement in Python is used when a statement is required syntactically, but you do not want any command or code to execute. Pass statement is especially useful when we are working on a large project, as it can be used as a placeholder to create minimal code block that we can revisit to work on at a later time. It's also useful in places where code will eventually go, but it has not been written yet. For example, a pass statement can be used for writing empty loops, empty control statement, functions, and classes. One interesting thing is if we replace the continue with pass statement here, the code will still be exactly the same, because in either case we are skipping the current iteration and going back to the next iteration. The pass statement here basically says to do nothing and just continue with the next iteration in the loop. And as you can see, the output is still behaving the similar way. But this replacing continue with pass statement here doesn't serve the purpose of showing what the pass statement actually does. So I'm going to replace it back with the continue statement and further tweak my program here. So for day in a week, I'm going to check if day equals Monday, and if it is true, I will pass the gym for that day. And just to show on the output, I will also print statement saying no gym on day. F string, and there would be a pass here, and then everything else, this would be inside the else statement here. So how I'm changing this is I have everything, the continue and break from the previous example, but I'm adding this code block here, or the if else block here, and putting everything that I had inside the else block. In the if block, I'm checking if the current day is Monday, and saying that on Monday it's a skip day, so the avatar will skip gym, print the statement likewise. And let's give it a quick run. Avatar going to gym on Sunday, no gym on Monday. After going to gym on Wednesday, Tuesday is skipping because of this continue statement. Wednesday, he went to gym and got injured, and then because of the break statement, he is breaking out of this for loop. And with that, we print the last statement in our main code, which is the end of the week. So I hope this gives you a better idea of how we can use continue, break, and pass statement within a for loop. Next example I'm going to show you is using these three statements, but within a while loop instead of a for loop in this case. And for that, we will be using a NASCAR scenario that I explained earlier. So I would have to bring in a new variable called lap, and our lap will start from variable 1. I would also like to change number of trues and false in my possibilities here. So I have 10 laps, so I need total of 10 values in the list. So 10% chance of getting a true value with this list, and 90% chance of getting a false value with this list. We're going to use this possibility list, getting outcome for different multiple variables. Now, first thing we will do is initialize our while loop, and while lap is less than or equal to 10, we will continue with this loop iteration. And so what I'm going to simulate first is if the car needs refueling within any of these 10 laps, then it will stop for refueling and then continue the remaining of the iterations. I need to check whether I need refueling or not. So therefore defining this variable. Need refueling equals choice possibilities. If need refueling, I would continue. I would also add another print statement to show on the console here. F string refueling at lap number lap full stop, and that would be our continue statement. Otherwise, we would print f string we would say this lap is completed. And obviously to break out of the while loop, we would have to increase or increment the lap value by 1. Let's give this a run. And obviously we would have a longer output here because we have 10 laps to complete. Lap 1 and 2 completed, they refueled on lap 3, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 completed, again refueling at lap 10, and then lap 10 completed. Now this is the continuous statement. What is happening is if the refueling value is true based on the choices we made here, refuel at that point and then go back into the car race game and finish the rest of the laps. That is the implementation of the continuous statement. Next, I want to add a break statement in this and say, for example, let's say our driver got injured and he can no longer participate in the race. So in that case, if the driver is injured, we would break out of this while loop altogether. And in that case, we would have to create a new variable here, say driver injured equals choice from possibilities again. And now check that if driver injured, then we would break out of this loop because the driver is injured and he can no longer race or continue to race. And just to show on the output, again, we would print out a statement. And in that print statement, we will say have a f string driver got injured on or in lap number. And the rest of the code will still be the same. Give it a run and see how it is behaving. Now driver got injured in lap 10. That doesn't help us a bit here. So let's run it again. Lap 1, 2, 3, 4 completed. Driver got injured in lap 5, and end of the race for the driver. I want to see refueling and injury at the same outcome. So here, 1 and 2 lap were completed, and then they needed refuel. 3, 4, 5 were completed, and in lap 6 the driver got injured and had to break out of this race because we are implementing the break statement. I would like to add another condition here saying if there is a mechanical breakdown of the car, let's say there was an accident, the driver himself was okay, he is able to participate in remaining laps, but he needs to swap the car because of the accident. So it's not a very good example, but nonetheless use a pass statement here to show you how that works or how we can implement pass in the code within a while loop. For that, we would also now add another variable here, car issue. So let's say if there's a mechanical issue in the car, so our new variable would be car issue, and again that would be random choice from using the choice function based on our possibility values. And if the driver is injured, we have this break statement. We probably needed else statement here in our earlier example. That was the case for the injured. Now we will say elif, and in the elif code block we're checking for car issue instead of driver issue. And if car issue is there, we would do a pass and just replace that with a new car. So to simulate that, we would say print f string mechanical issue in the, we'll just say in lap and lap number, and then we get the car swapped. So let's run this. Mechanical issue in lap 1, car was swapped, then 1 and 2 were completed. Driver then got injured in lap 3 and no more car racing. That was a good example. Again, here lap 1 completed, then refuel in lap 2, then 3, 4, 5 were completed, refueling again in lap 6. Driver got injured after that, and there was no more racing. So I think this is a pretty good example outcome. It's all random based on our coding, but you can see how we implemented continue, break, and pass statement in while loop. So I think that's all for this video. In this tutorial, we discussed continue, break, and pass control statements in Python and how to use them to control execution flow. We saw that a Python continue statement skips a single iteration, but the execution continues to next iteration within the loop. On the other hand, the Python break statement immediately breaks out of the loop in which the statement is placed, skipping all remaining iterations, and the execution going to the next statement immediately following the loop within the main program. Both break and continue statements can be used in a for or a while loop, allowing us to control the flow of a loop. They can also be used in nested loops. The pass statement is used to define minimal functions and classes without implementation code. Hope this was informative for you and you were able to learn something from this tutorial. If you wanted to see some more examples, especially using these control statements within nested loops, please drop your comments below and let me know. If you like this tutorial, smash that like button. Also hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you don't miss future tutorials like this. Until next time, thanks for watching.